Hello everyone and welcome to Catching Up with the Clemenses, brought to you by the Mark Twain House and Museum in Hartford, Connecticut. My name is Jodi and I care for the museum collections.
And I'm Erin. I coordinate school programs here at the house. Today we'll be answering the question, how did the Clemens girls celebrate Christmas? Now, not everyone celebrates Christmas, in the past or even today. And around the world, people celebrate it in really different ways. Individual families have their own traditions as well, kind of like how we discussed when we talked about Clemens family birthdays. One way to learn about how the Clemens family celebrated Christmas in the past is to read diaries and letters, things that were written at the time. We've done this before in other episodes to learn about how people worked and how people lived and even how people used the bathroom. But there's another way to learn about the past. Clara Clemens, the middle daughter, and Katie Leary, who worked for the family for many years, both wrote something we call memoirs. Now, if you don't know what a memoir is, the first syllable might help. A memoir is a book you write about something you remember. Now, it's usually about a specific time in your life, or an event that happened, or a specific person you know. And the titles of Clara and Katie's memoirs tell us something about who the focus was. Clara's, My Father Mark Twain, and Katie Leary's, A Lifetime with Mark Twain, are both written many years after their time here at the house. But Christmas features prominently in both of these memoirs, and we can listen to some of what they both had to say about Christmas to get a sense of what the family's traditions were. In Clara's memoir, we learn about what the house was like in the days and weeks before Christmas.
I shall never forget the royal preparations for Christmastide in our home. At that time, I appreciated everything, chiefly as a thrilling experience that made up for the trials endured during school hours. But how could any one individual buy, wrap up, and expedite so many presents for one single day in the year as my mother did? The work began weeks before the holy day. Even so, there seemed always to be a rush at the end.
Many of the presents that Clara's mother wrapped here in the mahogany room were for the family's neighbors in Hartford. Some of those neighbors may not have had the money to have a nice Christmas dinner or presents in their stockings, like Susie, Clara, and Jean did. Katie remembered how the Clemenses worked together as a family to make sure those neighbors had something special for Christmas.
The Christmases they used to have was something wonderful. The way they used to make everybody happy, baskets and packages all over the place. Mrs. Clemens would be fixing baskets. Off the library, they always used to do the Christmas things in there. And she used to do up about 50 baskets herself. She always had a crowd of people, children and old people and grown-up people too, depending on her. And she fixed them up wonderful baskets with a big turkey and cans of peas and tomatoes and vegetables, and then, a bottle of wine and a great big box of candy and nuts and raisins. And then there was always some stockings and underwear and a few pretty things too. She used to give every one of them a present, individual-like, extra. She knew, it seems to me, what each person wanted most, and she shopped for weeks before Christmas, doing up all those things and having all those baskets ready. And then when Christmas morning came, if it was cold and snow on the ground, Mr. Clemens would start out to distribute the things. He'd put on his big fur overcoat, take the sleigh, and the two children with him, Susie and Clara, and they'd start early in the morning with them great baskets. The children would read the names, and then Mr. Clemens would lift the baskets, and Patrick would take them into the house. Mr. Clemens looked just like Santa Claus, you know, with that great big fur coat with a white fur collar on it, and he and the children had such fun over it.
One of the most important parts of preparing this home for Christmas was decorating the beautiful rooms of this house. And the girls played a large role in that decoration. They made a lot of the decorations by hand. So they made things like popcorn and cranberry garlands for the tree, and paper chains to decorate their own rooms, and even cut paper snowflakes. Do you know how to make any of those crafts? Then, when the house was all decorated, when the tree was trimmed, when all the packages were wrapped and ready for Christmas, it was time to finish the royal preparations here in the nursery and in the schoolroom next door. This is where the girls celebrated their Christmas. Let's hear how Clara remembers decorating and preparing this space and then settling down to sleep the night before Christmas.
When Christmas Eve arrived at last, we children hung up our stockings in the schoolroom next to our nursery and did it with great ceremony. Mother always recited that thrilling little poem, "'Twas the night before Christmas when all through the house," etc. One of our cats, sarcastically called Apollinaris, was always dressed up in bows and invited in while we pinned up our stockings. He brought a certain balance of temperament with him that was very much needed. His oriental calm kept us from bursting with excitement. At this time, my sisters and I were obliged to retire at an early hour every evening, not excepting Christmas Eve. Therefore, by 8 o'clock we were in bed, launched on a long night of wakefulness, while my mother started on a night of work down in the mahogany room. 2 of us, Jean and I, slept in the nursery, and my elder sister, Susie, occupied a little blue room adjoining. But on Christmas Eve, Susie crept into my bed with me, and we listened for the mysterious sounds that would betray the presence of fairies in the schoolroom. Ah! There they are! Rattling paper, subdued voices, a dull thud. Something falls. I wonder what it is. If only it isn't broken. Oh, Susie, listen to the heavy thing they're dragging across the floor. What on earth can it be? I'll die if I can't find out soon. How many hours yet? If only we could sleep.
Then, when it was Christmas morning, the girls would wake up bright and early and come in here from their nursery next door to see what they got for Christmas. Let's listen to Clara's memories of Christmas morning here in her home.
Eventually, 6 a.m. came, and we rang for the nurse to build a fire in the schoolroom and help us dress with as little washing as possible. And now the door opens wide. The great moment of revealed mysteries has arrived. The big object, seeming to fill the center of the room, turns out to be a lovely, upright piano. Can it be true? Once I said to my parents, how wonderful it must be to be able to play on the piano. Do girls ever play? And now, here was the real live piano in front of my eyes, and I was only 6 years old.
But not every Christmas present the girls received was as big as a piano. Books were a very common present in the Clemens family, and the girls and their parents were always happy to receive them. Books of myths and legends, encyclopedias, and even a few stories written by Mr. Sam Clemens himself. But Sam wasn't the only author in the neighborhood. Harriet Beecher Stowe, who wrote the famous anti-slavery novel Uncle Tom's Cabin, lived right across the lawn from the Clemenses. One Christmas, she gifted Susie some of her books with personal inscriptions in the front. This is one of them. If you could receive a book with a message written in the front from the author, what book and what author would you choose? You may have noticed that I've been wearing gloves when I've been showing you this book that Mrs. Stowe gifted Susie. I've worn them at other times in our videos as well, like when I picked up the toilet paper back in the bathroom episodes. For next time, we challenge you to figure out why I've been wearing gloves when handling objects like these. See you then.
Do you have a question for us? You can send us an email at catchingup@marktwainhouse.org or send us a letter at the Mark Twain House and Museum, 351 Farmington Avenue, Hartford, Connecticut, 06105. Along with your question, tell us your first name, your age, and what city or town you live in. If we feature your question in a future video, we'll be sure to give you a shout out. Don't forget to like this video and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss an episode.
We want to keep our educational materials accessible to all, but while these videos are free for you, they're not free for us. If you want to support the creation of Catching Up with the Clemenses videos and other educational programming here at the Mark Twain House and Museum, please follow the link in the description below to donate now.